What's up, guys? It's Travis Lane Shark, and today we're doing a FaceTime with Sandy from Sawing with Sandy, and there he is. Can you see me?
I can. How you doing, Travis?
I'm good. How about yourself?
Oh, can't complain. That's for sure.
Well, hey man, it's good to finally meet you and talk to you. I really appreciate all your videos. You've done a jam up job, so it's awesome.
Well, it's not hard for me to do because there's not a lot of stuff I have to say about it. It pretty much sells itself, shows itself.
Right.
It's sort of filled a niche for me that up until I knew it existed, I was sort of out there with a brush cutter and chainsaw and sort of left feeling like I could be doing something easier. And then when I finally found your lane shark, I was pretty happy about that.
Yeah. Yeah, that's always been our biggest problem is just not enough people know we exist. Like if I could tell everybody out there that needed one, I'd probably be so busy that we'd never catch up.
I have people come by, for YouTube and just friends and family, and they see the equipment I've got that they know about. They see general equipment, landscape rakes and box plates and all that, but then they see that and they're like, "What on earth is that thing?" They assume it would have been for a 3 point hitch, and
Right.
then I tell them, "Oh no, I sit inside the cab and I have full adjustability, do all my trails, and next thing you know, we forget about why they came over and they want to talk about that." So
That's awesome.
yeah.
Yeah, it's gonna be a night and day difference whenever you get this hammerhead. You definitely won't have to leave the cab then.
Well, I can tell you, I have tried it already. It just got here not too long ago,
Oh, that's
and
right, you do have it.
yeah, when it arrived, I was pretty excited. I think I spent the next day or so out in the shop just getting it going, and it's one of those things. The LS4 is a solid unit, but as soon as you have that ability to stay in the cab, it's like all the functions you had before, but now even easier. It's pretty slick.
Yeah. How was the like the install process? Was that pretty good with our instructions and everything?
Yeah, basically, once you get that third function kit put in, with the original
Right.
LS4, once that's in and you're sure everything works with that unit, putting the switch box in was pretty well no problem.
Awesome.
Um, the extra green wire you had, all the labels as well on the wiring harness made life easy. You
Yeah.
just everything was already the connectors were already on it. The hardest part for me was figuring out how to run the wire from inside my cab to the front loader.
Yeah.
Uh, so
Yeah, that's why we got it separated like that to make it a little bit easier. It's still kind of a pain to put all those connections through a hole in the cab, but that's the best way I could figure out how to make it as user friendly as possible.
yeah, and the box is solid too. Like the switch box, like the buttons are nice. They're not. Sometimes you see switches and you're like, oh, these are so cheap, they're not going to last. But
Yeah.
it's solid. The push button is very solid, and with the wiring harness and the protection that came on it, I feel pretty good knowing that it's gonna last. So
Right.
that's kind of nice. You hate to see stuff and you see about 15 wires just running with zip ties without protection under the tractor.
Right.
You're like, yeah, that's gonna last about 10 minutes, but this is it's well protected. So
Awesome.
when I saw the hammerhead, there's a few little additions like the protection at the front and that. Obviously, the hydraulic cylinders and the extra sort of I don't know what you call it there, where all the wiring
Control valve.
connections come in. But besides that, it looks like it's the same basic, solid steel frame, solid welded. The rubber back for if you bump into anything while you're going along the ground or whatever. But I certainly wouldn't say it's a downgrade at all. I would say it's equal. Just the one has the control box connections. So
Right. Yeah, that's basically. I mean, the biggest selling feature is just so you can have all that adjustability without getting out of the cab. Because it's just we got older gentlemen that want to run it, and sometimes it's just a pain in the butt to get out and move it. So that's it's I think so far, which I haven't talked to everybody obviously, but it's been a lot of older guys that want this unit. They're like, you know what? If I'm gonna spend the money, I'm gonna spend a little bit more and get this one so I can just hit a button and go about my
yeah,
day.
I'm sort of the same way. You sort of buy it once. Usually with tractor implements, like I still have the same implements that I had when I first got the tractor, and assuming they're well built, you buy it once and then it
Right.
lasts for as long as you have the tractor. So just that extra little creature comfort, though. I myself, I can see the value in that for sure. You put that control box in. I remember the first time I actually fired it up. I was sitting outside my shop and I was so excited to get it installed. It was pretty late. So I fired things up. It was dark out and I wanted to see exactly how it worked. And the first time I hit that button and I watched the thing rotate where before I would have gotten out of the cab to do it,
Right.
I'm like, yep, that's the one.
Oh
So,
yeah. Yeah, because
yeah,
every time it seems like every time I'm cutting, I'll be in the 90 and stuff will fall, and it's just perfect where you can't cut it when it's in the 90. You just need to drop that thing down and then mow it, and then pick it back up and keep on going.
yeah. I myself find that I have so many trails that I sort of maintain that I just start driving down them, and every once in a while I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot about that. But instead of having it sort of brush hanging over the trail, that might be like standing brush.
Right.
So then I want to rotate it down, take care of that, and get back to what I was doing.
Yep.
So you know, if you were to get in and out of the cab, a lot over the course of a day, you would certainly recognize the difference with that control box,
Right.
the switch box, the hammerhead. But it's one of those things. Once you realize how easy it is to move it, you're moving it a lot more.
Yep.
At least that's what I'm finding.
Yep. So how did you originally find out about us?
That's a great question. I'm obviously on YouTube, but I watch a lot of YouTube, and I saw someone else's channel, and I don't remember the exact name, but I sort of tuned into it because I saw the implement that looked to me to be a rotary cutter,
Right.
but instead of being on a 3 point hitch, which I'm used to seeing, it was on the front end loader of a tractor, and I thought, gee, what on earth is that? They have a long PTO or something, like a snowblower. And then I watched the video, and I'm like, that's the best thing I've seen in a long time. And a lot of people like me, they have brush, but in order to cut that brush with a rotary cutter or some sort of flail mower, you'd have to drive over it. And I'm not
Right.
driving over 2 inch material, and having it rake the underside of my tractor. So when I saw that brush, I used to cut with a brush cutter, like by hand. And after you walk and clear trails by hand, and then you see something that can go on your tractor, it's like, oh yeah, that's the ticket right there. So I saw that and I thought I got to look into it, and then I realized that it wasn't just a repurposed skid steer attachment. Because sometimes you see that and you're like, "Oh, I
Right.
don't know about putting a skid steer attachment on a tractor because the flow rates and that are different, right?" And so then I realized that you actually make it for you know small mid-size tractors, compact tractors. I realized that that is something that I've been missing,
Yeah.
and I have so many applications for it. I cut long grass with it. I cut back fern fields. I cut my side of my trails, like the overhanging brush. Anytime there's standing brush. Um, the only thing I haven't cut with it is the lawn at my house, and the only reason I haven't is because I have a septic system I can't drive the tractor on. So if I also cut banks with it,
Right.
so I have steep hills, and I can't drive the tractor up it. But what I can do is I can rotate the lane shark, and then I can drive down the laneway and still cut those hills. So
Right. So did you have a third function on your tractor to begin with, and then we got you the replacement for WR Long, right?
it's interesting. I never had a third function kit. I was using a grapple with long hoses
Uh,
attached to my rear remotes,
right.
and I didn't know what I was missing there either. I
Yeah,
thought,
because
oh,
you're
the
having
third
to do your
function kit
joystick
is
and then open and close it with another hand.
I would have to lean to the right, and I would go super fast from my joystick loader down to my rear remote
Yeah.
joystick. I was decent at it, but you don't know what you're missing until you get a proper third function kit.
Oh yeah.
I will never go back. I'm just I used to say to everyone, "Oh yeah, rear remotes, you can use them, no problem." And then I tried it, and
Yeah.
yeah, you can use the rear remotes, but you don't want to.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah,
So
we've had a few people that have done that, and it's you're just, I mean, you're constantly doing this, trying to steer with your knee and everything, so it's definitely a pain in the butt. So I'm
the
glad that that worked out for you.
I was gonna say with the using rear remotes as well. The reason that's no good, my rear remotes have a detent on
Yep.
it, so you have to be careful because if you're just trying to feather it and grab onto something lightly, you hit that detent, and then it's got it, and you gotta struggle with the darn thing to get it back
Yeah.
kicked out. But so
Um. So is was there like once you got the LS4 put on, like what was the learning experience like as far as operating it? What are your thoughts on that?
yeah, I think the big thing for me was I'm just trying to count how many pins there were. I think there's three. There might be four pins on it that you take in and out at different times to allow it to swing safely
Mm-hmm.
and position. So I'd say the learning curve was probably the first few times I went out to use it. I had your instruction booklet, your manual that came with it, and you have it pretty good. It tells you for this position, do this.
Right.
And so just like a cookbook, I just tried it. And then eventually, after you do it a few times, you're like, okay, I see how the pins work.
Yeah.
And what's nice about it, because the weight of the lane shark is, it's a good weight. It allows for it to swing
Mm-hmm.
without you having to put any effort in. Like if you follow that instruction booklet and you lift the loader and sort of curl down the lane shark, you just basically open the pins, and then the weight of the lane shark helps you
Yep.
to rotate it. So assuming you follow the instructions, there isn't much to go wrong. You know
That's
what I mean?
that's the hard part is getting people to follow instructions. But yeah,
Well, yeah.
my stepdad is the one that came up because when I first created it, the I have a video of me taking and basically pulling all the pins out, lifting the loader, turning the tractor, and driving forward and like to get it to go in the offset.
Oh yeah.
And I did that. That's how I thought you were gonna have to change positions. And thank God that isn't how you do it. But my stepdad, Terry, I was up here at the shop and he called me one day. He's like, I have a better way to do this. He's like, just lift it in the air and drop it, and like all the
Yep.
weight is just supported, so you're just swinging the weight around. And that's what
Yeah.
so I try to tell people like whenever they get the unit, like watch the video and just move positions a few times before you ever start cutting, and that'll help you familiarize yourself. Because I've had people back whenever I first started, I had people like everybody had my cell phone at that point, and I'd get calls from people out in the woods. They're like, I cannot change the positions. Like I don't know what to do, and I'm like, well, what position do you have it in? They're like it's flat. I'm like, okay, let's just back up, and then they're like,
Yeah.
oh my god, why didn't I know that to begin with? I'm like, just gotta.
Yeah. And you know what? You mentioned the videos there. I watched your videos before the actual LS4 showed up. And so, in addition to reading about it, I could visualize what you were doing. And because some of the pins are spring loaded, especially when you rotate it back into the position before you curl back,
Mm-hmm.
because it's spring loaded, you even mentioned in the manual in your videos, you just stay back, you don't go under your loader. It swings back under its own weight. The pin is spring loaded, so it once it hits its hole, it stays there.
Yep.
And then you can put your cotter pins in where necessary. And um, you know, I've done it now so many times that it's sort of second nature.
Yeah. That's awesome.
But it also
Um,
gives you a good visual. Once you get it into that position, you can look underneath. You can make sure the blade's in good shape. You can see all the moving parts. So
right.
uh, it's pretty straightforward now.
Awesome. So, how much have you used the hammerhead so far?
Yeah. So basically, when I first got it, I'm just trying to think the month I got it. I think it was it might have been in winter or approaching winter. I know that's hard to imagine down south in warmer climates, but it was certainly a cold one for me. I was out there installing it and everything. I used it all that winter, and what I did was wherever I could drive the tractor, like the trails I use in the winter, I brushed back or cut back the branches that typically fill with snow. So I used it all that year, and I think was that last year, last
Yeah,
winter.
I don't even think it's been a full year that you've had the LS4.
Yeah, so I used it all last year, and then the spring rolled around, and when the spring rolls around, that's when I'm real busy with it, um, just because that's when all the brush really picks up and you can tell where stuff is. So I used it the better part of the spring. The summer depends. I used it periodically. The good thing with the lane shark is because it's so easy to cut brush back, you can really push stuff way back. Yeah, I think you mentioned that sweeping motion.
Right.
You can sort of push it way back off the trail. So it's not like I'm out there every week having to cut the same trail.
Hmm.
You more or less cut it back in the spring, and then I go back and check on it in the fall. Um, so several months worth. I'm not sure how many hours. It still looks mint. So I really couldn't put a time on it that way.
Right.
I've You've seen me use it on camera, but I also use it off camera.
Yeah.
So
So as far as so with you getting such cold winters, did you use it much during the winter, like when stuff was frozen? And like, what's the? Because I obviously around here, whenever it's cold and the leaves are gone, it's hunting season, so
yes,
we don't get a chance to go out in the woods a whole lot. And that's one thing we've thought about is trying to push the northern dealers to really push them in the winter because then the limbs are brittle and you can see through stuff a lot better. So in my mind, it seems like it would be somewhat beneficial to cut in the wintertime because you can see stuff better. Is that has that been your experience or?
yeah. I prefer to do like outdoor work in the winter. Aside from the brittleness, the coldness, we also don't have the black flies. Like we have horrendous insects here in the warm months. And like I'm in a cab tractor, so I'm fortunate. But if you're in an open cab and you're up here in the warm months, the bugs will eat you alive. So working in the winter is nice. There's no bugs. It's
Mm-hmm.
cooler. Um, Everything, including like firewood, it splits better when it's frozen.
Yeah.
The brush as well. Instead of being sort of torn, it actually cuts very very easily. Like even big stuff, you hit it with that sharp edge and regardless of whether it's that 2 to 3 inch size, it pretty much will crack it right across.
Yeah.
So winter is nice for that. The other good thing with winter is you're typically out clearing snow anyways, pushing it with your bucket or maybe you've got a another implement. But once you cut that brush, it falls in the snow, and I don't have to go back with a grapple and sort of pick up anything. I just push it off with the snow when I'm clearing the snow,
Right.
and and also without the leaves on it, it's sort of less for me to have to deal with. The leaves don't fall off; it's just the
Right.
brush. Um, One thing I like about the winter is it also puts a good test on the equipment. The tractor, it kind of likes the winter. It's cooler,
Mm-hmm.
performs better. So I find I was sort of testing out how the lane shark was going to do in the cold. If it's going to break around here, it breaks in the winter. We get down to negative 35 Celsius, which I'm not sure what that is in
Too
Fahrenheit,
too damn
but it's
cold.
cold. It's cold, and
Yeah.
so like even the plastic pieces on equipment,
Yeah.
if it's going to break, it'll break in the winter because it gets so brittle.
Right.
And with the lane shark, because I can't even think of a plastic piece on it.
The owner's manual tube.
The owner's manual tube, yeah, because it's solid steel and just hydraulic hoses. Um, there's nothing really to break,
Right.
and so the winter's my preference for working. But then again, in the summer, when I've been using it, we get to like 33 Celsius, and so we get extremes. And so I was always wondering, will this get hot? Like, will it get to the point because it's a hydraulic system? Will
Right.
it get hot running it in the heat as well? And I found it doesn't get any warmer than any other piece of hydraulic equipment. So
Right.
um,
Yeah, that's been a like that's the whole thing with it. When we first started, people were like, "You're going to burn up tractors. This is not right," and that's why we were so adamant about the installation process.
yeah,
Having it installed properly will make sure that it doesn't overheat.
yeah, and I'm a believer. I myself I was skeptical as well. There's all kinds of claims for equipment, and I think the difference between a claim and reality is if it actually performs. And so getting it out there, I used it all summer. and I didn't wait for it to get cool. Like I was out there at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, heat of the day. I'd run it for several hours, and you know, I would think I would find out if it was overheating based on
Yeah.
my thermostat on my tractor, but it didn't budge.
Yeah.
And you can go up, you can put your hand on the motor, the hydraulic motor. You can tell if stuff is starting to perform poorly, and hydraulic stuff. And I didn't notice anything. So,
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, those motors that
but
we have on the LS4, those things they've been bulletproof. Like those have been a great motor. We've had issues with our LS3 motors. We've gone through what we're about to be on our third iteration of motors for that because we're
yeah,
just we're asking it to do more than what they're designed to do. But
right.
that motor that's on the LS4 is we've never had any issues out of that. So we found another one that seems to be the ticket. It's the same design. It's just a little more compact. So
Oh yeah.
doesn't affect you, but it's just one of those things we've been trying to fix for a while. So we think we finally got that solved.
I
um,
think I was just gonna say I think your design is solid too because it's a hydraulic motor. There's no like gearbox. I'm used to PTO driven equipment and there's a gearbox.
right.
And usually what happens is that gearbox is the weak link. Like if something's going to fail, and you hope it's not your tractor, but if something's going to fail, it's that gearbox.
Yeah.
But because it's all hydraulically driven, it's very simple, just like with other hydraulic equipment. And so if something's going to go wrong, it's very easy to sort of recognize what it is. It's
Right.
just a hydraulic circuit essentially. So
So one question is kind of strange question, but have you had any instances where you think you've ran into something a little harder than you should have? Uh, like maybe you don't see something and you hit it. Like, have you had any instances like that come up? Like if
I've
it's
had
in the
before
offset
where
position,
sorry, what was that?
like in the offset position.
Oh, in the offset position. No, I haven't. I'm just thinking where it was down flat.
Mm-hmm.
I bumped a tree before, like where I was cutting smaller brush around a tree. When that happens, I just noticed you can tell the motor will, um, you can sort of hear a hydraulic motor running.
Mm-hmm.
You can tell when it has slowed. And so, probably what happened instead of the blade cutting all the way through it, the blades hit it, but because they're hinged, they just sort of retract slightly.
Right.
And then at that point, when you hear the motor, you back off. But in that far position, I'm doing that sweeping motion that I'm noticing you're doing as well now. And because of that, you don't really hit things head on. You can see what you're driving into with that sweeping motion.
Right.
And I just stay back a little bit. Um, if I notice something big, I just stay back from it before I go in. I also just drive slow enough so that if you if it's in this position and you hit something, you're slow enough where you're not going to notice after the tractor is like broken, you know what I mean?
Right.
So just like any loader work, you respect it's a loader, it sticks out quite a ways. It's not there's a lot of leverage there is what I'm saying, and
Right.
so you recognize that. I just recognize that a tractor loader is not like a it's not a bulldozer. It's not designed to push
Right.
heaps and heaps of soil. I don't want to bend my loader by doing something silly. And so, just like with any implement on the front, I'm just I'm just aware that you have to take it easy. You're you're not uh, you're not like a forestry mulcher on
Right.
a massive excavator going at things. You're driving slow down the trail. It's probably bumpy. So
Yeah, that's definitely the case. So how much have you used the hammerhead much yet?
I haven't used it a ton. I've definitely cut stuff with it, but I haven't used it a ton yet.
Okay.
I know with that exciting news coming up, I was going to hold off on that a lot of use on it until that sort of makes news.
Okay.
Um, the big thing with it, I just find I'm more apt to switch positions with it, just because it's easier to do.
Right.
So it's sort of like if you have a fast car, you're more apt to drive fast because you can.
Mm-hmm.
And that's probably the same thing.
Yeah, that's for sure. So then I guess what we'll do is get down to the nitty gritty of why we have this meet and greet today with you and I is to announce the giveaway that we're doing. So since we have released the Hammerhead and you've done such a awesome job with your videos and everything, like we figured you were the perfect candidate to do this with. So we really appreciate that and appreciate your time and working with us on this. So yeah, we just give kind of your thoughts on how this will go for your audience and what you hope that they'll gain out of this.
Yeah, so with that new Hammerhead, basically once I found out about it, I was quite excited, and I wasn't quite sure how that was going to play out in terms of the Hammerhead and the LS4 that I already had. And then once you let me know that a giveaway, you were offering a giveaway to one of the viewers, I was not only excited for me because I really like using the LS4 and the Hammerhead, but it allowed me to be real excited for the viewers because if they have any any type of land like I do, or any type of situation like I do, I am certain they're going to find the same value out of that type of equipment, the LS4 that I did.
Right.
And so I'm pretty excited to be part of that, and I appreciate you allowing myself and the viewers to take part in that as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it'll be kind of cool, especially the way we're doing it this time. Like normally we it's just kind of like a like and comment and you enter. So if we do it a little different this time to where they submit some information telling us about what they're looking for. Obviously, if they have a qualified tractor, then they'll be entered to win. So this will be cool. Like somebody finally win a giveaway that is needs this exactly. Like other people just
Yeah,
enter giveaways just because they want to get something for free, but this one will be a lot more dialed in. So that's going to be cool. Hopefully we can. Hopefully whoever wins it is willing to do some videos and talk about it and
yeah.
everything when they get it.
I want to hear about it because even off camera, I'm out there doing this stuff, and I want to see what other people are doing with it and find out their experiences with it. You can always learn new things, and if someone who's got the similar setup to me, or something close, and they're out there doing the same thing I am, I want to see it for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
So yeah, we're gonna be giving them your LS4, and then whatever tractor they have, we're gonna be setting them up with a full C-Flow third function. So hopefully, if they already have a third function, they can pull it off and put the new one on. Or if they have a WR long, then we can just add to it. That'll be nice.
yeah.
So that's gonna be exciting. I can't wait to see what happens with that.
I was just
Yeah.
gonna say, and I can give my assistance there too. I'm pretty excited. Whoever's getting this, I can tell you, I treat all my equipment with respect, and that holds true for the LS4. So it's a solid piece of equipment, and from what I understand, it's going to be checked over and everything, and made sure that when it arrives to whoever's getting it, it's ready to go. And so, if I can give my 2 cents to get the installation underway, I'm happy to do so.
Awesome. Okay, so yeah, we're gonna get it back here, go through it, make sure everything's good, and send it back out. So that'll basically be a brand new unit. Just we'll refer to it as a demo unit because if you take care that good of care of stuff, then it's basically brand new, huh?
It's the main work you've seen it do has been on the channel, so there's no surprises there.
Awesome.
And yeah, you can know it's going to last and it's going to work well because, as I was saying, I've used it in negative 35 Celsius temperatures, 3 4 feet of snow, all the way to 35 above. So it's got to work out, and it works well.
Awesome. So what's the next big thing that you've got going on other than this giveaway? Like what's the next thing for you?
So I'm constantly out there building trails, maintaining them, and that. And in addition to that, I'm this time of year, especially firewood is a big thing. Firewood sales really kick off. I'm also doing a new sawmill shed, so
Okay.
I'm building that as we speak. I need the winter to hold off a bit because I still have concrete footings to pour. But probably when we're done, I'm heading out to do that. The other thing with winter rolling around, I tend to do a full once over the equipment maintenance. Greasing everything, checking bearings, making sure everything's tight and fluids change. Just so I don't have to do it when winter hits.
Yeah.
At least. not more than once.
Absolutely.
And so I do that. I try to clear out my sheds so I have room to park equipment once the snow hits, and then I'll get back to sawing. I'll get down to sawing some lumber, and I have a few more things I'm working on behind the scenes builds I'm going to be working on, and so I have some land clearing to do. Without getting into too much detail, it'll be a good project, but I'm sort of going down my chore list and hoping the winter holds off
Yeah.
because it's pretty long. So
What's your frost line down there? Like, how deep do you have to put your footings?
we're not too bad. At least I don't think we're too bad. 4 feet minimum, so 48 inches minimum.
Yeah,
And
that's crazy compared to down here.
yeah, the good thing is though, where I live, we're pretty much on solid um, granite. So
Right.
like we're on the Canadian Shield, so it's a good thing, but it's a bad thing.
Yeah.
These footings I'm going to pour. The good thing is, if I start digging and I hit granite, I don't have to dig any further. The bad thing is then you're putting pins into the granite, so you're
Yeah.
digging a hole, jumping in the hole, drilling holes in the granite. Anyways, about 4 feet,
That's
and
crazy.
yeah, it's pretty good. However, it's pretty bad because if you don't do that 4 feet, you'll get frost heave, and then your
Right.
buildings will start doing this.
Yeah, then you're in big trouble. Yeah,
And the
so
trouble with
you have radon that you have to deal with up there too?
a little bit in the granite, like there is
Right.
some precautions, like basements and that for a home, that type of
Mhm.
thing. Some people will come in and they'll get readings done just to check on that. Where I am, I'm going to be building out in the woods, so I'm
Yeah.
all right there. The only downside as well when you're building here, you have to really count on a lot of snow sitting on your roof. So like we're talking, you're accounting for anywhere from 40 to 60 um, pounds per square foot. And so you're having to build for that.
Right.
Whereas when I see people building in different climates, I'm looking at their rafter length and rafter spacing and the
Yeah.
beams that are this big. And I'm having to put in beams that
Oh
are
yeah.
massive. So
Yeah.
such is life.
It's really cool to see how like we were talking about that with Dylan about the different building techniques all throughout because up where you are versus where we are like we don't
Yeah.
have to deal with snow ever like it snowed probably like I'm 38 I think it snowed here 5 times that I can remember and it's never anything more than like a few inches so
Yeah.
we're
It's
lucky with that but then we have the hurricanes that we have to deal with.
yes. Well, and also the rain.
Yeah.
I visit down south, and the one thing that I notice, we get rain, but we don't get rain like if it rains for 4 days, that's like flood conditions. That's like a serious rain event. Whereas, when I head south, I'm like, wait a minute, it rains every afternoon in the summer. What's going on
Uh-huh.
here?
Yeah.
So,
We get a lot of it.
but yeah, where we are, it's great. It's you got to be hardy though. Some days I wake up and it's like the end of February, and I look outside, it's like -30, and we just got 2 feet of snow overnight. And my tractor doesn't start unless I preheat it with a plug. I'm just thinking to myself, I might as well go back to bed.
I
So
I would I would probably be a lot fatter and a lot lazier if I lived up north because I would look out just like that and I'd be like, all right, I'm just gonna roll back over.
last, I think it was Christmas last year, maybe it was the year before. For a 3 day period, it snowed constantly, and I think we had 3 feet of snow, maybe a little bit more in a 24-hour period, and then our power went out.
Oh,
So I was sitting here on Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, and Boxing Day without power. No big meal, no any of that. Couldn't leave the house because I had to keep the wood stove going.
right.
And I start to think to myself, gee, I wouldn't mind going on a holiday right about now.
I heard that. You need to see if Generac will sponsor your channel. You can get you a second or a home generator.
I had one at one point, and that was at a previous house. And sure enough, I don't have one here when I needed it, but at least the tractor started.
Yeah. First off, I really appreciate everything you've done, man. Like the first video I watched of yours, you can ask Brandon. I was like, all right, we need to do whatever he wants because his channel's awesome. So I
Well, I
really do
appreciate that.
appreciate that. You've done a phenomenal job. Like it's always it's always a gamble whenever we sign up guys that we've never met, and
Yes.
we've had some good experiences and we've had some
Yes.
bad experiences. So it's it kind of all balances out. But you're definitely one of those that's high up there. So I again thank you. So do you have any other stuff that you want to talk about or go over while we have you?
Uh, I just wanted to say thank you for filling that niche. um, Up until I found the lane shark, I was out there trudging through snow, wet weather, cold weather with the brush saw and the chainsaw, as I was saying.
Right.
I have a pole saw. I used to have a handheld pole saw. Now I have a gas one. And that gets old after the branch hits you in the face one too many times and
Oh
it's
yeah.
snow on it. And I found the lane shark, and that was like that light bulb that went off. So thank you for having that light bulb going off previously and doing
Yeah.
something about it. Um, Up until that point, there's various ways that you could cut grass and that, but it doesn't really fill that niche for what I wanted. I wanted to cut the grass, cut the brush, but I also wanted to cut the brush that's overhanging my trails
Yeah.
and cutting around buildings. And so having that option, as easy as it is with the loader, I appreciate you building that. And the good thing is, when it got here, sometimes when you get stuff, you're so excited to see it, and then you see it, and you're like, "Oh no, I wish they did this." What I was happy to see is you actually have it built stronger than I think I would have expected. It's solid steel, but it's not light gauge steel.
Right.
It's heavy, and so I appreciate you building it as if you wanted it to last forever. No one likes to have stuff light duty when it's
Right.
going to be doing a heavy duty job. So,
Yeah, that's so it's kind of funny. There's been a bunch of little things that led up to the creation of this, and when I was younger, my stepdad and I we had hunting clubs, so I would go
yeah,
with him to help do cleanup days, and I was always the kid in the bucket with a pole saw cutting limbs, and with the loppers and the chainsaw, and so that was like kind of like just that experience. But then whenever I was 18, I bought a Bobcat, and it
yep,
had a brush cutter on it,
yep,
and I would use it to go clear land and everything. And I had this one job I did. I was cleaning up in between planted pines, and I just wanted to be able to take that cutter and turn it sideways. And so at that time I didn't have the resources or the know-how to do anything about it. And then fast forward to 2016, my stepdad, Terry, he found there was a guy that made one and it bolted to the bucket of a tractor. So he bought that and made it where it was on a skid steer quick attach and it would cut in the 90 and it would lay flat offset.
hmm,
So then I was ready to move home because I was living in South Carolina building houses. And I was walking from the garage to the house and it was just like a light bulb. I'm like, I could build some of these with my dad because he was doing shutdowns
yep,
and he was having to travel all over the place, and I wanted something else for him to do. And I thought that we would do 4 or 5 of those a month, and that would give him something to do, and he wouldn't have to go to shutdowns. I was going to move back to Florida and build houses. And so we got to working on it and painted it green, put it on Facebook, and it just took off. And so here we are now. So it's big credit to my stepdad Terry and a big credit to my dad William. Like without them doing their things, and I would have probably never had the idea or never followed through with it, I guess. And then it
y-
just, like I say, just blew up. Paint it green was probably the best decision we ever made.
it stands out. I was driving through New York State back in August, and I didn't know where I was from a hole in the wall. I went to a show down there, and I'm driving through the countryside, and all of a sudden, I'm like, there's a lane shark, and it was like all I could do not to, because you don't see that color with
Right.
that implement. So
Yeah.
yeah, no, it's great. Some small details you put in there as well. Whoever had the idea to allow the blades to stick out a little bit, that was the perfect idea, because now you just drive up to things and it's like, if here's a tree or brush, whatever it is, you just have to touch it. And as long as it gets in that, little groove there,
Right.
it cuts it. Whereas before, with any cutter, you have to drive over it.
Yep.
And then you're sort of gambling if it's actually going to cut it. Because if it bends over and lays down, the cutter's
Right.
up above it. you might go over it 100 times and it still doesn't jump up to get cut. So
Yeah, that was Big Terry, my stepdad. He was the one wanting us to make sure we had it sticking out far enough to catch the limbs and everything ahead of time. And the pin that locks the swing arm into position, that was him that came up with that. Because the very first one I created, I actually have one that a guy brought back yesterday because we were going to do some repairs to it. But we had a square tube at the end of the 2x6, and when it
yep.
came around, you dropped a square tube in it, and that's what held
Okay.
it. And it was only one. So basically, you had home position, offset, and then the 90. You didn't have all that adjustability. And Big Terry called me one day. He's like, "Hey, I need you to come look at this." And he had drilled a hole through the swing arm into the back plate. And I was like, "That's a good idea." And then we added all the extra holes and everything for it.
Yeah, and because you have a lot of stuff that's spring loaded as well, and because there's not a lot of moving parts. In fact, if we're talking the LS4, I think you just have the hydraulic motor, and then some greasable points in that. Because it's so simple in the wintertime, especially, the more moving parts you have, the more likely ice will freeze in there,
Oh
and the
yeah.
more likely you'll break something. And so I like you got the big pins. It's nice and easy to take it out. You can see where it is. You blow the snow out, and because there's nothing more frustrating than me having to take my gloves off in the winter,
mm.
and then I'm fiddle. My hands are frozen. I'm fiddling with little pins, and you know what happens? I drop them in the snow.
Oh yeah.
Go and I just want to go inside because I've had enough.
I get
So
that.
yeah. But anyways, no, I appreciate you letting me be a part of this, and giving me a chance to put it into action. Both the Hammerhead and the LS4. Um, the conditions I put it in are quite varied, and so I'm looking forward to putting that Hammerhead back into winter season before long. And knock on wood, I hope it's a little longer than now. But yeah, I appreciate letting me be a part of that. And once the giveaway happens, I'm positive whoever's got it coming will well, they should be excited because it's an exciting piece of equipment to get. So
Yes, sir. Well, we like I said, greatly appreciate it. Look forward to working with you as long as we can, and anytime we come up with something new, you'll be one of the first to know because I think you'll put it through the ringer.
I appreciate that. I certainly, if you ever see me out in public, this is how I dress. This is what I do, and even with the cameras off, I'm out there running the equipment pretty hard, and I'm just happy when the equipment is up to the task. There's
Yes, sir.
nothing more frustrating than you getting something, being excited for it. You go out and you use it, and then the fifth time through, it starts feeling loose or it's
Right.
bent or So I'm very happy to give the hydraulic, or excuse me, the hammerhead another go around like the LS4.
Awesome.
So
Well, cool, man. I greatly appreciate your time, and it was a pleasure to finally talk to you. And I guess we'll get this wrapped up and start working on all the details of it and get this thing given away.
this sounds good, Travis. It's funny when I see like when I meet you, I almost get that starstruck a little bit because I see all your videos, and I'm like, wait a minute, this guy is actually real now, and I'm talking to him.
That's
So
funny.
it's just kind of funny to go from a video to real life. So
Oh
thanks for
yeah.
taking the time.
Yeah, it's I understand that because I've gotten to meet a lot of people in this journey. That like some of the people that were very famous when I was growing up, like hunting people, and
Oh
it's
yeah,
always
yep,
it's always neat to meet someone and realize, well, they're just a real human being like I am. Like I got to meet Chase Rice
okay,
a few years back. He's a big country music star. I don't know if you know who he is.
I think so.
And then Willie Robertson, like just all kinds of
Willie
really,
Robertson, is that
yeah,
right? Eh?
yeah. Yeah, it's a funny story how I know them, but we won't get into that right now.
Okay, maybe
Uh,
maybe for another time.
yeah, but no, I went to Sadie's his daughter's wedding. I got to meet Chase Rice. Um, I can't think of his name, but the guy from Fresh Prince of Bel Air.
Like Will Smith.
Not Will Smith, the cousin,
Uh, I only know
Alfonso.
his on stage name, Carlton, or
Carlton is Alfonso something. Anyway, he was there, and
is
then
that right? Eh?
Candace from Full House, the big sister, was there. So it's really cool to meet people, and you're like, oh, you're just a real person.
Yes.
So,
Oh,
but
that's
yeah, I'm
exciting.
definitely just a real person. I'm not anything special. So,
Well,
Uh,
you make good products, so that's the main thing, and I appreciate it.
yeah, we got a really good team here to help make sure that happens. So, well, cool,
And
man. We'll let you sign off, and
yeah, sure.
if you need anything, just reach out to us. Obviously, you got Brandon's number. If you need me, just let him know, and I'll call you or whatever we need to do.
Yeah, well, great chatting with you, and thanks very much, Brandon and Caitlin as well. Was it Ross as well? Very helpful.
Yeah, Ross.
Any questions I've had have really been helpful for me. So thanks very much
Yeah,
for
Ross
that.
is
And
Ross. I've known Ross since I met him going into ninth grade, so we've been
oh, is
friends
that right?
for like 20 something years now.
Yeah, no, you know, I send an email and it's pretty amazing. You know, the email's back before I know it. So I
Yeah,
appreciate all the help that way. So,
cool,
anyways,
awesome.
thanks again, Travis. I
Yep.
appreciate it, and yeah, I'm sure we'll chat real soon.
All right, thank you, Sandy.
All right, take care. See
See
you
you.
later.